مستكبرون صدق الله العلي العظيم صلوات.
Jazakumullah khair. Please send another loud salawat for Brother Muhammad Rakka. Next up, I'd like to call upon Brother Zain Jafri to recite a salam. Please welcome him with 3 loud salawats. Salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad.
Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Before I recite this evening, I want to share a brief reflection. The Urdu poem that I'm going to be reciting is titled Ye Fazilat Hai Bas Aapki Fatima, which translates to This honor only belongs to you, O Fatima. Every line in this poem reminds us of the exemplary status, the purity, and the light of Sayyidah Fatima Zahra, Sayyidat Nisa'il Alameen. It reminds us that she is the one whose rank even Amir al-Mu'mineen acknowledges. She is the one whose own immaculate father rose when she would enter a room. The one whom angels served and from whose the name blessings descend into homes. As I was practicing this poem, I couldn't help but cry. Though I will not make any mention of her musibah tonight, but when you ponder on these words describing her greatness, you start to wonder, how could such a woman be subjected to the tragedies that she faced? How could the Ummah treat the daughter of the Prophet in a way that even rocks and mountains would tremble to hear? Please recite aloud salawat. Ye fazilat hai bas aapki Fatima. ये फजीलत है बस आपकी फातिमा खुद अली की बिना दे अली फातिमा ये फजीलत है बस आपकी फातिमा खुद अली की बिना दे अली फातिमा ये फजीलत है बस आपकी फातिमा तेरी इस्मत का इकरार करने के बाद तेरी इस्मत का इकरार करने के बाद हर नबी को नबूवत मिली फातिमा ये फजीलत है बस आपकी फातिमा और जब समझ ना सके तुझको सलमान तक जब समझ ना सके तुझको सलमान तक कैसे समझे तुझे मौलवी फातिमा ये फजीलत है बस आपकी फातिमा और अल-कसस की कसम उसने कुरान सुना अल-कसस की कसम उसने कुरान सुना जिसने तेरी कहानी पढ़ी फातिमा ये फजीलत है बस आपकी फातिमा और कौन सा रब ने ओदा तुझे दे दिया, कौन सा रब ने ओदा तुझे दे दिया, तेरी खातिर उठे हैं नबी फातिमा। ये फजीलत है बस आपकी फातिमा, ये फजीलत है बस आपकी फातिमा। और ज़हन में तेरे दुश्मन का नाम आ गया, ज़हन में तेरे दुश्मन का नाम आ गया, जब तबर्रे की आयत पढ़ी फातिमा। ये फजीलत है बस आपकी फातिमा। और कैसे खालिक बनाता अली दूसरा, कैसे खालिक बनाता अली दूसरा, जब बनी ही नहीं दूसरी फातिमा। ये फजीलत है बस आपकी फातिमा, ये फजीलत है बस आपकी फातिमा। खुद अली की बिना दे अली फातिमा। ये फजीलत है बस आपकी फातिमा।
Please send another loud salawat for Brother Zan Joffrey. As you all know, that we are constructing a Al-Zahra hall across the street. So please, if you can please contribute generously and donate, it's going to help progress the center more, and we can have more, inshallah, programs like this. Also keep in mind, on December 7th, we are having a career fair in the main hall. And if you would like to sign up as a working professional to help out the youth and guide them, please talk to the brothers in the back and we'll get that sorted out. Also, there is no food or drinks allowed in this room. If you guys do bring any, please, I ask you to clean up after yourself. And also, before I conclude, on behalf of the entire community, I'd like to express our deep appreciation to Sayyid Abbas Razavian, to coming here and blessing us with his words of wisdom and blessing us with his presence. Also, I'd like to ask if everybody can please send the loudest of their salawats for Sayyid Abbas Razavian. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali. And as we keep him in our prayers, let us also remember Ayatollah Sayyid Al-Khoei, Ayatollah Sayyid Sistani, Ayatollah Khamenei, and all the many scholars who have devoted their life to serving the Ummah. Please send a loud salawat for them as well. And now, without further ado, I would like to call upon Hujjatul Islam, Sayyid Abbas Razavian, to bless us with his words of wisdom. Please welcome him with 3 loud salawats. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala.
iPad's jumping. It's a frog in it.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ومولانا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم إلى يوم الدين. What a beautiful Quranic recitation and recitation for Sayyidah Fatima alayhi salam. And this allows you and lets us know that when the Prophet mentions, I leave for you two weighty things, Hadith al-Thaqalain, that both Shia Muslims and Sunni Muslims all agree upon, that this is the way for us to continue our guidance and continue our worship in Islam, is to use the nur and light of the Holy Quran and to use the nur and light of Ahlul Bayt and the family of the Prophet. Because he has said, Inni tarakum fikum al-thaqalain, I leave for you two things, Kitabullah wa itrati Ahl Bayti, I leave for you the Quran and my family, Ahl Bayt, my progeny. When you look at the different names of Sayyidah Fatima alayhi salam and titles that she has, we talked about her being in the Quran in 33:33. We talked about her being in the Quran in 361, chapter 361, Mubahil, and many other verses. But we also see titles for her. One of those titles, for example, is As-Siddiqa. As-Siddiq means a person who does not lie, a person that is very honest. So, to be honest and not to lie is one level of being Sadiq. But when you're Siddiq, it means that you completely, in all aspects, tell the truth. One of those aspects that Sayyidah Fatima is alayhi salam is Siddiq, but that we struggle with is that when you are truly truthful, whatever you say and testify, your body and your actions also testify and also accomplishes. For example, when you say Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in in salat, we say we only worship you, we only seek assistance from you, Allah. It really means that I don't seek assistance from others. It really means that my tawakkul is truly on Allah. But yet many times we can say worship others. We worship money, for example. Worshipping here means we put preference to these things than things that should be prioritized. So the only Siddiq that we have, and the true Siddiqa that we have is Sayyidah Fatima, because, and the Prophet and their successors, is because truly their actions were completely aligned with their slogans and sayings. If a person, for example, says, Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in, and actually does not have that in their lives, there's really, in a way, not truly truthful. Today, we're going to wrap up our discussion about this skill that the youth need to have and anyone needs to have, and that is, how can I be a good decision maker? How can I make good decisions and be successful at them? Right now, many of you're in different times of your lives. You're thinking, for example, what career should I have? Who should I marry, for example? Where should I move to? These are very important decisions. How can I make a rational, and we said that, remember, emotional or reactionary decisions are not right. We need to make logical and rational decisions in our lives. And what are the steps to a successful and appropriate decision? One, we said niyyah and intention. If a person's intention is pure, it is not selfish, it is not for themselves, it is for Allah in a way that it revolves around Allah's will, then you notice in your own lives maybe that when I made an intention for God, that thing that I wanted to do, I became successful at it. So the first thing is to purify your intentions, to have a good niyyah. The second we talked about, and that was, the next was to have a deep knowledge of how the world works. From the dua of the Prophet, Allahumma aranin al-ashya kama hi. God, show me things how they really are. If I do not know the world how it really is, if I don't know the hereafter how it really is, if I don't know Allah how He really is, then how can I make the right decision? When I know that this world is transient, when I know I will not last here, my decisions will be based on the fact of for the hereafter. My decisions will be based that I want to enhance and promote myself in terms of spirituality as well as the world. The third, which we talked about last night, was that many people, we make good decisions, we have good intentions, but we fail because we don't have that resolve, firm resolve, or that willpower to stick with our decisions. And that in a way we have raised ourselves to be weak individuals. Yet we said that the aspects, the wajibat in Islam, the muharramat in Islam, the obligations, those that are things that are haram and not allowed, they in reality are getting me used to strengthening my willpower. Because when I say no to all haram things, when sometimes there is a good business opportunity for me, and I say no to that because, as I said, that's usury, that's haram, there's a good investment in the stock market, but I say that company, I'm not allowed to invest in it, they engage in haram activities, for example, then my willpower will become strong, and when my willpower becomes strong, I become a very strong individual. And I said this, that you, brothers and sisters, compare yourselves to others in your own city. You have fasted, you have been praying 5 times a day, you have stayed away from haram. In a way you didn't even know it, Allah has been training and developing you to make you the strongest individuals. But yet we see man's weakness is that when his willpower is weak, and he gets into temptations and addictions. Islam has freed you from these temptations and addictions to substances, to intoxications, to music, for example, to haram relationships. All these things that you look at, it brings up people down. They fail because of this. Allah has given you that willpower to live a wholesome life, a good life. And we talked about that. To conclude, in the fourth step, in order to make a successful decision and to be good at it, the last is trusting in Allah. When you decide, I need to do something, for example, and I look at it and I said, this is what Allah wants. And then I say that, I'm going to be strong, I'm going to stick with it. At the end, you need to trust in Allah. You need to have tawakkul. Tawakkul means, Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam was asked, you can recite salat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. There are various degrees in trust of Allah. Tawakkul or trust in Allah, there are very different degrees. Of them, one is that you should put your trust in God in all affairs, being well pleased with whatever God does to you. So I'm going to try to, attempt something that either in my business world, my family life, my personal life, I'm going to do it for Allah. But does that mean 100% you will be successful? No. But what it does mean is you have to try. You have to attempt. But the rest, you rely on Allah. We have to look at it this way as Muslims. You look at your duty, your wadifa. What is my duty? For example, when it came to the issue of helping our Palestinians, many of the Muslims, many groups, many people, they did not have, for example, the strength as the Zionists. But they said that this is my duty. This is what I have to do. And therefore, the rest, will I be successful or not, that is up to Allah, because I want to be a Muslim. I cannot just stay here and do nothing. The success is up to Allah, but who performs that action and makes that intention is up to me. So therefore, you have to trust in Allah. Say, Allah, I'm doing this for you. Sometimes you try something, there'll be a lot of wisdom and hikmah in it. You'll try to, say, open a business. You'll try to help somebody. You'll try, for example, marriage. You'll try different things, or even, for example, to go to Hajj, or try to go to ziyarat. You had that intention, but it doesn't work out. In the traditions, it says you will still be rewarded for it. because your intention was there, your heart was there. So therefore, we have to realize that success and tawfiq is up to Allah. But I have to try. It doesn't necessarily I will gain. I will be successful in this matter, but it means that I will try, and my success is in trying. My success is in order to do what is right. When you look at some of the benefits of tawakkul, وَمَنْ يَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ فَهُوَ حَسْبُهُ. And whoever relies on Allah, Allah is sufficient for him. Imam Rida alayhi salam mentions that the strongest of people is the one who has tawakkul. Tawakkul means this: I don't know what's going to happen in the future. Does anyone here know what's going to happen to them even 5 minutes from now, 1 day from now? We don't know what's going to happen. It's not clear for me. But I view Allah in a way that I look at 3 of His attributes that are very important for me to develop. If I develop these 3 attributes, then I will just take this affair and hand it to Allah. Allah, take care of it for me. You're my Rabb. Take care of it for me. What is the first attribute that allows me to have good tawakkul? The first attribute is understanding that Huwa ala kulli shay'in qadir. Allah is powerful, has over everything power. Allah can do anything He wants. And for Him, it is nothing. When you look, for example, and you are strengthening your tawakkul, and you look at the stars, for example, the universe, and you see, for example, how far the distance between stars are and how vast space is, that all you're looking at and observing when you see the constellations and stars is history, because this is such a great distance, even though the light is traveling, the speed of light. But yet I'm looking at history because those stars and galaxies are so far from me that many of them don't even exist right now, but I'm just observing them. That is the vastness that Allah, or when I look at earth and I look at the different types of, for example, animals and creations that Allah has made, I see that He has ability. I see that He has power. I see that I am powerless in reality. So therefore, the one who realizes the true La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah al-ali al-azim reaches this, that there's no power, there's no effective force but Allah. Many of us today, if you look at, for example, the concept of God in the West, they'll say, yes, God exists, Creator exists. But that deep knowledge of God, that the God that is effective in this world and that everything is happening by Him is very low. But just to say that God exists, He created me, okay, good. But is that relationship between us and God like an engineer or contractor that makes a building, and then when the contractor leaves that project, that building still stays? Hundreds of years, that skyscraper will still stay. Yes, it might need, for example, to be redone and reworked in some areas, but it's staying, right? Is that the relationship we have with God, that He creates and then we stay by ourselves? Or is it this way, as some of our philosophers say, in your mind right now, you create an object. You create, for example, this water bottle. Create it in your mind. This is in your mind turning, and it is, you're refreshing it, and exists as long as you are giving attention to it. But the second, for example, you get distracted, I do something else, and suddenly that water bottle is gone from your mind, it doesn't exist. The philosopher says, this is the relationship between us and God. It is this example, not the example of the contractor who makes a building and leaves and that building stays. No, it is like that water bottle or object or ball you make in your mind, and as long as you are thinking of it, it exists, meaning that it needs its existence to be refreshed on and fa'an. It needs to consistently be refreshed and given tajdeed of existence. That is how we are. Do not think that you are self-sufficient. Do not think that you have any power by yourselves. Allah is refreshing, giving you power on and fa'an. And if you reach this, then you do tawakkul. The same Allah that is right now allowing me. Some of the mystics and some of the urafa, even when it comes to breathing, something you take it granted, a breath. One of the things that human beings, the fastest way that a human being can die, It's not starvation or not water, it's oxygen, obviously. A few minutes of not having oxygen, it would not go into the blood, cannot give it to the other parts of the body, we will die. So the mystic looks at this, and even when it comes to something as simple as breathing, they say, I rely on Allah, I trust Allah for me to breathe. I ask Him for me to breathe. If you look at all of the universe, and some ask me, what are the proofs of God's existence? We say, God is nothing but self-sufficiency, and we are nothing but contingency and need. That is a relationship that we understand. That if you look at, for example, this table, this iPad, everything in the world is in need. Everything as if it's saying, I am faqir, I am in need, I am deprived. And that everything that we see is getting its existence, how we said that creation that you made in your mind. When you look at life this way, you really realize that the only effective force is Allah. Does this mean we don't have free will? No. Allah has given us free will, because if He doesn't give us free will, it doesn't make sense for Him to make heaven and hell. Why would He punish somebody that He had no control for Himself? Would you ever punish a robot? The examples ulama give is, for example, imagine you're driving in a mountainous route and a rock falls and crushes and kills those in the vehicle. Would you ever blame the rock? Why did you fall, you boulder? Why did you fall and smash these people? Why did you do that? You deserve to go to prison. Prison of the rocks, for example. Nobody says that. And those that unfortunately believe in jabr, those that unfortunately not believe in free will, they think we are forced, and in reality they're saying we are like that rock. For example, that if somebody sins and they would go to hell, you would say that, why would you ask this question? Why would Allah punish one who has no free will? Does Allah punish rocks? We would be like that rock. So therefore we understand that even though everything is controlled every millisecond and created and given existence by God, it also, that same God has given us free will, has allowed us to choose, and we can develop by our free will. So the first step in being a true mutawakkil ala Allah is believing that all power rests in Him. I have nothing, Allah. If you do not give this tawfiq, and you always say, tawfiq is from Allah. If you don't give it tawfiq, if you don't give it success, it will not be successful. Do not be like that individual, that human that thinks he's self-sufficient, that thinks he is something. And you see, this is the historic mistake of mankind, that mankind thought that he is something. He thought he is powerful. He thought he is knowledgeable. It's like Qarun that would say in the time of Prophet Musa alayhi salam, that he had such a wealth that it would take different men to take up the keys to his safe or to the vault. He would say, this is from the knowledge that I had. I gained this wealth from the knowledge that I had. In Quran, sees the example, you can see the example of Qarun. Did God give you that knowledge or not? Did God give you success or not? Even if you are very successful in this world, and inshallah you are, and we encourage our youth to become successful, as we need economic power, we need financial power. But at the end of the day, you say, who gave you that health in order to work? If you were sick, could you work? Who gave you that mind to work? Allah gave that mind for you to work. Or else from the beginning, if you're born and you did not have the ability to have true cognition, how would you be successful and you relied upon others, for example? You could not be able to be successful. Who gave you that health? Who gave you those ideas? Who gave you that ability to go to work and come back to work? Allah did. So brothers and sisters, the first step in tawakkul is relying and understanding that every power is from Allah, and repeat this throughout your lives. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. There's no effective force in this universe but Allah. And this, you have to keep saying it, because we live in a Western culture that has limited God, and the understanding of God in Western culture is very limited. As we said, just Creator, not the Almighty, powerful God. The second type, an attribute of Allah that will help you in tawakkul, is that you understand that Allah is Al-Hakim, is wise. That God is Alim, God has knowledge. That I do not have knowledge. I do not know what will happen. Many times you rush into things. For example, you get married and you're thinking, oh no, maybe I made a mistake. Oh no, I do not know what's going to happen because I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I don't know what's going to happen next week. I don't know inside of this, there's khair and good for me. I might get, for example, sometimes something might happen to us. I might get fired from my job. And I think that after I get fired from this job, it's all over. Allah doesn't like me. But I don't realize that there's khair because He is Hakim. He is Alim. There's something good in here. He is trying to guide me towards Him. You know, Quran very beautifully mentions a lot of times people think that the more they receive from God in terms of monetary, God loves them more. Rabbi Akraman, for example, Quran mentions. When God gives us more and more, says, Allah did ikram to me, Allah loves me. Or when Allah takes away from me money, Allah takes away from me blessings of this material world, it says, Rabbi, for example, ahanan, Allah has insulted me. Kalla, it's not like this. It's not like this. Whoever is rich, whoever is financially capable, Allah loves them. Whoever is poor, Allah doesn't love them. You have to understand that wisdom of Allah goes back to this. Remember last night I said this, if you understand tarbiyat, if you understand development, if you understand hidayah and divine guidance, you understand how the world works. Allah places and changes things for you in a way so that you can get close to Him, so you can get to know Him, so you can get complete. Our final destination is not here. Our final destination is at-tagharrub ila Allah. And the third thing, that if you want to have tawakkul in decision making, is that you have to understand that He is compassionate. When you say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, He is the entirely compassionate and specifically compassionate to us. You realize that almost every surah in the Quran starts with this. His rahmah, His mercy. And His rahmah encompasses all things. He loves you more than your parents love you. He loves you more than yourself loves you. Therefore, we realize that when you believe in Allah that is caring for you, when you realize He cares for you more than your parents, when you realize He is all powerful, when you realize He has all wisdom and knowledge, then why would you not rely on Allah? Do you need another God that is more powerful, more wise, more compassionate in order for you to trust in Him? How come today, if you see a powerful, kind, for example, wise person, you would give your money for him, for example, to invest, and you would not even, have any doubt? Why would you do this to a human, but you cannot do this to Allah? So develop these three attributes in yourselves. Then you'll notice that when you make decisions, you'll stick with it and you'll continue. When you look at the life of Prophet Musa alayhi salam, you see there's a very beautiful story that he has in the Quran, one that is full of tawakkul. As you know, Musa alayhi salam was what? He was a munji of Bani Israel. He was the savior of Bani Israel. They made dua for him, prayed for him, because Pharaoh was Dhul Awtad. He would take people with stakes, put the stakes in their hands and leave them in the desert. From the beginning, when this munji was going to be born, they need to rely on Allah because he was killing all the boys. So because he knew that one person will be born that will dethrone him. So you look at the Quran, and the first type of tawakkul that you see in the story of Prophet Musa, which is one of the maybe most beautiful stories in the Quran, maybe one of the prophets that has been explained the most in the Holy Quran. Even though there's no specific chapter for him like Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam, but you can compile it in all parts, in most parts of the Quran, a lot of chapters of the Quran, and bring out his story. And you see, وَأَوْحَيْنَا إِلَىٰ أُمِّ مُوسَى أَنْ أَرْضِعِيهِ. Then we have been inspired to the mother of Musa alayhi salam, suckle him. But when فَإِذَا خِفْتِ عَلَيْهِ فَأَلْقِيهِ فِي الْيَمِّ. And when you fear for him, cast him in the river. And this is for a mother. You ever have an infant, for example, a baby brother, maybe baby sister, or maybe you have your child yourself. Imagine that child that needs you like every second, especially as like a newborn, that child, and you cast him, for example, put him in a basket and leave him alone. That's trust. And then Allah promises Musa, Inna raduhu ilayk. Two promises. One, we will return him to you. Two, وَجَعِلُوهُ مِنَ الْمُرْسَلِينَ, and we will make him of the messengers. Two promises. One of them, the mother of Musa saw in her life. Some say the other she did not see, because it took a while for Prophet Musa to be a messenger. But says, cast them in the river, two things will happen. One, we'll bring him back to you, and that was done very fast, because he gets cast down the river, and the family of Pharaoh finds this baby and likes it. Even the Pharaoh likes it, even he doesn't want to kill it, for example, even though he did resemble from that tribe that he was trying to get rid of. But still, the love of Prophet Musa in a way went into his heart, and they decided to keep him. But yet he was not nursing, he was not taking in milk, until finally he got reunited with his mother. One thing that she trusted in Allah. She put him, and this is one of the instances where Al-Khoei, it says there was information of the unseen to the mother of Prophet Musa. So therefore, if we believe in our Imams and say our Imams also get knowledge of the unseen, would that be problematic? We'd say no. The mother of Musa alayhi salam, God, Al-Khoei, there's wahi for her. Yes, revelation is how the Prophet gets, the Imams don't get. The Quran is for the Prophet, yes. But to get knowledge of the unseen, you see here, in many cases in the Quran, there are individuals, they're non-prophets even, but yet they receive information from Allah, knowledge of the unseen. So you cannot say knowledge of the unseen is only for example, the Prophets. We say it can be for Imams and others as well. The other was وَجَعِلُوهُ مِنَ الْمُرْسَلِينَ. The story of Prophet Musa alayhi salam continues. You see that Prophet Musa is raised by Pharaoh, and while he is being raised by Pharaoh, he continues living in Egypt until finally he decides to, because of a fight that takes place, and he was sick and tired of seeing Bani Israel being abused, he comes to defend one of the Bani Israel from the Egyptians, but hits him too hard and kills him. And therefore, now they're looking for Musa alayhi salam to see who did this, who killed this person. So he runs to the valleys, he runs to the deserts, and there at that time he makes a very special dua. It's very interesting when you look at the tawakkul of Prophet Musa alayhi salam. He doesn't have anything then. He doesn't have a place to stay. He doesn't have any friends. He doesn't have a wife. And there he makes this dua for Allah, help me. And he continues. Did you know that one of the best prayers you can make is when you don't have anything, when you lose complete hope from creation? Because Allah is in the broken heart. So Musa alayhi salam, his heart is broken here. He says, Allah, help me now. I don't have anything. Then how fast he goes to the city where Prophet Mada'in, where Prophet Shu'aib is alayhi salam. He goes and helps the daughters of Prophet Shu'aib get water. And they were so modest, they kept waiting and waiting to get water. And Prophet Musa alayhi salam helps them. Prophet Shu'aib likes this. He gets invited, and later on, he gets offered one of the daughters of Prophet Shu'aib. He gets the opportunity to live with Prophet Shu'aib. And he heard so much about him. What a great father-in-law to have a prophet father-in-law like Shu'aib. He gets a house now. He gets a family now. He gets a wife now. He gets friends now. Why? Because of that tawakkul. Then he continues. Now it's his time to become a prophet. And Prophet Musa alayhi salam is instructed now to go back to his people. He goes back to his people. He becomes Kalimullah, becomes a prophet, speaks to Allah, and he is given two powers, the staff and Yadul Bayda, the hand that will become luminous and lightful. And with this, he has to go and challenge Pharaoh. But of course, Allah wants to give Pharaoh even a chance and to speak to him with wisdom. So to fast forward a little bit, after the competition that Prophet Musa alayhi salam had with Pharaoh, after the diseases and the different calamities that fell on the Egyptians, eventually Prophet Musa alayhi salam takes the Bani Israel and delivers them, and they run off at night and they leave Egypt. But then this is the part that I would like to mention, is that Pharaoh understands that tens of thousands or maybe hundreds of thousands of Israelis have left. So he takes his vast army and whoever he has to chase them down, to make sure they don't leave because they were slaves. So therefore, Musa alayhi salam is going fast, but finally he reaches a dead end. What does he reach? He reaches the Red Sea. And if you can't go further. And now behind you, you have the entire Egyptian army with Pharaoh who is murder. And then the Quran says, فَلَمَّا تَرَآ الْجَمْعَانِ قَالَ أَصْحَابُ مُوسَى إِنَّا لَمُدْرَكُونَ. When the two companies saw one another, eventually they saw one another, this huge, vast army, and all these thousands of Bani Israel now, this is indeed, we are to be overtaken. What are we going to do now? So now I want you to put yourself in the position of Prophet Musa alayhi salam, and you see the sea in front of me, and you see this army coming. But yet Prophet Musa alayhi salam had tawakkul. Why? We said those three things. Everything, all power is in Allah. He loves me, He is merciful, and He is wise. So then Prophet Musa alayhi salam says something which is so beautiful. He says, قَالَ كَلَّا. No, not indeed. We're not going to be overtaken. Even though right now he doesn't see anything. There's no parting of the sea. He's stuck. He says, Kalla, with complete yaqeen that Allah will save me. Allah will save us. And that's, if you want to be a leader, and if you want to be head of the household, or be effective force in the household, effective partner in the household, then you have to rely on Allah. If every time you're going to be challenged, oh, that's it, okay, maybe I wasn't a prophet, maybe it was all bogus, for example. Let's submit, let's have peace, let's have a ceasefire, for example, with the Egyptians. Then you would not be successful. He says, قَالَ كَلَّا. It's not like this. Inna ma'ya rahbi sayahdeen. Indeed, Allah is with us. With me is my Lord. He will guide me. He doesn't know how, but He says He will guide me. And you see, this is the mentality of our scholars who have learned from Prophet Musa alayhi salam. That when it comes to these challenges that they have, and today you've seen in modern day politics, that it seems like there's a dead end, but yet they say Allah is with me and I'm still going to do what is right. Now I will be successful or not. Maybe Prophet Musa alayhi salam would be shaheed. He doesn't know, right? Maybe, but it's still he would be successful, because you're successful as long as you do what is right. That natija and conclusion and result is up to Allah. Therefore, he says, Allah will guide me. Then we inspire to Musa alayhi salam, strike with their staff to the sea. He struck, and it parted, and each portion was like a towering mountain. The Red Sea, I want you to imagine how deep it is, and for it to be parted, and each part was like a towering mountain. And Musa alayhi salam went through this. By the time Pharaoh came to go through the Red Sea, it crashed down upon him, and alhamdulillah, the Bani Israel were saved. So this story of Prophet Musa alayhi salam is one that teaches us that sometimes in your lives you might think there's a dead end. And this happens to me personally a lot of times. I think that's it, it's over. Sometimes you think there's like a flight. You want to go somewhere good, obviously, not, for example, Las Vegas, hopefully, somewhere good, inshallah, Karbala, Mecca, this. And you trust in Allah that Allah help me now. Please, don't let me miss my flight. I'll do whatever, how many salawats you want. I'll give how much, because you're stressed out right now, for example. And if you miss, it's going to be, terrible. But yet I see I'm at a dead end, and I rely on Allah. I say, Allah help me. And then you see, because Allah wants to show Himself to you. He says, hey, look, I'm going to put you in this position, this stress, to see what you do. Do you rely on me? Do you trust me? Or no, you're going to say, oh, that's it, I give up, I'm not going to, that's it, let me just go home, for example. No, He wants for you to trust. And that last second, you'll see, mashallah, something happens, for example. Mashallah, they'll take you, and the flight is delayed, for example. You go there to the gate and say, oh, it's still here. What is it still doing here? For example, they say, are you Mr. Falani or Mrs. Falani? Come on, the whole plane is waiting for you, for example. So this is one small part in our lives, but generally, when you learn to trust in Allah, you will become much more calmer. You will be able to make good decisions. But if you don't trust in God, you're going to be agitated, you're going to have anxiety all the time, and you're going to be stressed out, and you're going to give up. So therefore, we understand that this is one of the great things that when it comes to a good decision to trust in Allah. I'm going to end with this hadith, inshallah. Whoever wants to hear it, please recite Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajib. In this, I think hadith shares a lot of things about decision making. It's a hadith that Allah, conversation that God gives to in this book to Prophet Dawood. That he says to Prophet Dawood alayhi salam that there are 5 things that I've placed in 5 places, but people look for it elsewhere. They don't know where to find it. Let's read this hadith, and this will be the end of our, inshallah, presentation and end of our series. Inni wada'tu khamsa fi khamsa. I have put 5 things in 5 places, but people seek them in 5 other places and they do not find it. The first thing it says, wada'tu al-ilm. I have placed knowledge fil ju'i wal jahd. I've placed knowledge in hunger and effort. وهم يطلبونه في الشبع والراحة فلا يجدونه. But yet people have sought it in fullness and comfort, yet they do not find it. True knowledge, especially religious knowledge, is found. Maybe myself, I don't act upon this sincerely, but jahd, either hunger and jahd, necessarily working for it, striving for it. And this goes back to, making decisions, is that when you make that, you have to have, that resolve and you have to work for it. One of our scholars talked about ijtihad. When a person becomes a jurist, he says this way, as if you take a pin, a sharp pin, like a safety pin or whatever, and you want to make a hole in a boulder. You keep tapping, 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 until you make a hole in the boulder. He said that's ijtihad. So some things in life, and we have different fields out there for you, like medical school, law school, and different things. It is like that. It's not easy. You have to keep learning all these vocabulary words, learning all these different things, and eventually you'll be successful. But if you don't have that jahd in knowledge, then you will not become knowledgeable. 2, وَضَعَةُ الْعِزِّ فِي طَاعَتِي. I've placed honor. Do you want to be someone who people respect? It says, وَهُمْ يَطْلَبُونَهُ. I've placed it in my obedience. If you obey me, you'll be honorable. You do your salat when everyone is, for example, you're with your friends, and maybe they don't know much about Islam, you feel uncomfortable, but you do your salat, and then people respect you. They say, wow, look at this person, they're brave. Look at them, they're worshiping Allah. But وَهُمْ يَطْلَبُونَهُ فِي خِدْمَةِ السُّلْطَانِ. But people seek honor in being at the service of the rulers. You see, unfortunately, in the politics we have today, they think I'm going to be honorable. They go to these kings, for example, and actually today the Muslims say you are disgraceful. You're the most disgraceful people. You didn't help Palestine at all. What did you do, for example? You're a disgrace. But those people who did ta'ah and did what is right, you see, they have izzah, they have honor. 3rd, وَدَعْتُ الْقِنَاءَ فِي الْقَنَاءَ. Very interesting. Do you want to be rich? Anyone here want to be rich? In this hadith says, you want to be rich? Okay, well listen to this hadith. This richness is in contentment, my friend. Al-qana'a. What does it mean to be content? It means I'm satisfied with what I have. But if I always want more and more and more and more, I'll never be rich. I'll actually be poor, because I'll never be happy with what I have. I have, for example, a nice place in Manhattan, then I look at the other one, I need to have that penthouse, and no, I need to have that building. Then I'm always poor because I'm always not happy. I want more. But that person has a nice home. It might not be much, for example, but it's great. It's heated, for example. Has a nice family, nice children. He is the richest person. He's content. He's living a good life. وَوَضَعْتُ الرِّضَى فِي سَخْطِ النَّفْسِ. سَخَطِ النَّفْسِ. And I've placed my pleasure with opposing the desires. If you want Allah to love you, fight against your desires, but they go in satisfying the ego. وَهُمْ يَطْلَبُونَهُ فِي الرِّضَى النَّفْسِ فَلَا يَجِدُونَ. And the last is وَرَضَعَةَ الرَّاحَ فِي الْجَنَّةِ. Remember this, dear brothers, sisters. This is the final thing I'm going to say. In this presentation, I have placed true rest, raha, true rest. You want to be comfortable? True rest. It's not in this world. You're not never going to be completely raha in this world. Ad-dunya sijn al-mu'min. This world is the prison of the believer compared to the hereafter. Imam Hassan alayhi salam, Imam explains that dunya sijun mu'min means compared, not that you have to have a terrible life, no. But compared to that infinity of all the blessings that you want in quality and quantity, you're in a sijn, you're in a prison. So if you want raha, you're not going to find, this is the place of working. Inshallah, we can have raha and comfort and rest and the next world. But he says, وَهُمْ يَطْلَبُونَهُ فِي الدُّنْيَا. I've placed raha in heaven. I've placed comfort in heaven. But people try to seek comfort in this world. فَلَا يَجِدُونَ. They don't find it. Therefore, if you want to have true rest, true raha, true pleasure, true richness, true obedience, and knowledge, all of these things come from working hard, coming from obedience of Allah, come from wanting the hereafter, and come from fighting against the desire. So all of these come with that package that we said, if I want to make good decisions, I need to be able to have one, I need to be able to have a good intention, I need to be able to have deep knowledge. 3, I need to have firm resolve. And what we talked about today, you need to also trust in Allah. Please recite salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajal faraj. If we can dim the lights, we'll get ready to recite Musibat of Sayyidah Fatima alayhi salam. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. We dedicate this mention of calamity of Sayyidah Fatima alayhi salam for the souls of all of our departed, for those who are alive, your parents. I want to ask you something myself. What would happen? How would you feel if somebody came to your own mother and pushed her and she fell? What would happen and in front of you someone came and hit your mother? Would you ever forget that? Would you stop crying for that and be saddened for it? Or what if you had a mother that people came and pushed her and she was squeezed between the door and the wall and a nail pierced her chest, and that from these injuries she had a broken rib and slowly died? Would you ever forget that? How would that day be a normal day for you? It's not Fatima to Zahra alayhi salam, our mother. Today is the day that after they pushed and shoved her and hit her, Qunfud came and whipped her in her house, that she covered her wounds and injuries from Amir al-Mu'mineen, our mother. The reason why maybe I am not crying as much is that maybe I don't really think that she's my mother. But if she was physically really your mother, there is no way that today, the day she passed away, or tonight, you would think that it would be a normal day. You would always think of this incident. And that is what I'm saying, is developing that ownership and connection to the family, the Prophet and his family, as if they are your father, they are your mother, and this is happening to your own mother. Imam Ali alayhi salam, this is the greatest test of him, to lose his wife. Because Quran says, the home is a place of tranquility. Wallah ja'ala lakum min buyutikum sakana. Allah has placed peace in your homes. But Imam Ali alayhi salam, every time after Sayyidah Fatima tonight, he goes home, he sees the place of Sayyidah Fatima missing. He sees that the door of his house was set on fire. That the home that was a place of tranquility is a place of sadness now for Amir al-Mu'mineen for many years. Allah has placed in the night also لِتَسْكُنُوا فِيهِ هُوَ الَّذِي جَعَلَ لَكُمُ اللَّيْلَ لِتَسْكُنُوا فِيهِ. Allah has made the night a night where you can rest. But from now on, how will the nights of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, Imam Ali, be? When he says, وَأَمَّا حُزْنِي فَسَرْمَا, then as for my grief, it has no bounds. وَأَمَّا اللَّيَالِي فَمُسَهَّدْ, and as my nights, they will be sleepless. will leave Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam from now on. Allah mentions also in the Quran, not only is the house a place of tranquility, not only is the night a place of tranquility, but also the wife is a place of tranquility. وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ أَنْ خَلَقَ لَكُم مِّنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ أَزْوَاجًا لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا, and He has made His signs, He has created from you yourselves mates, wives, mates, that you may find tranquility of them. What they do to Imam Ali alayhi salam, that when he would look at the face of Sayyidah Fatima alayhi salam, he'd mention, وَلَقَدْ كُنْتُ أَنظُرُ إِلَيْهِ فَتَنْكَشِفُ عَنِّي الْهُمُومِ وَالْأَحْزَانِ. I would be removed every time I would look at Sayyidah Fatima during that time when the Prophet lived. Every time I would look at her, my grief, my worries would be removed. But now Amir al-Mu'mineen, he would look at the face of Sayyidah Fatima alayhi salam and look at the bruises. You see, what did the Ummah of Rasulullah do to Amir al-Mu'mineen? What did they do to Sayyidah Fatima alayhi salam? They took away peace. They took away tranquility from Amir al-Mu'mineen. Take yourselves to Medina. Allow Imam Ali to be your father. Allow Sayyidah Fatima to be your mother. I say this, the poet says this. Do you know why Lady Fatima is your mother? He says, the poet says this, whoever cries for Imam Hussein, whoever loves Imam Hussein's mother is his mother. Imam Hussein's mother is his mother. What a tragedy befell on the family of the Prophet. Where is the grave of Fatima Zahra? One of the evidence that she was Mathloom is the fact that she does not have a grave for us to do ziyarat for. We do not know where you are. Has anyone here been in Medina? They say when you walk in Medina, be careful where you walk, because any place can be the grave of Sayyidah Fatima. She can be under your feet. Sayyidah Fatima told Imam Ali alayhi salam in the wasiyah to Amir al-Mu'mineen, قَسِّلْنِي بِاللَّيْلِ, wash my body at night. وَدَفِّنِّي بِاللَّيْلِ, and bury me at the night. وَلَا تُعْلِمْ أَحَدًا, and do not tell anyone. It was a very secret night, a night like this, that after the shahadat of Sayyidah Fatima, mostly funerals are in the day. I don't think any of you have gone to a funeral at night. But the funeral of Sayyidah Fatima was at night. If you see this illustration behind me, it in a very artistic way depicts what happened to Sayyidah Fatima, that you have a few individuals. You have Amir al-Mu'mineen, Imam Hassan, Imam Hussein. You have like Salman, Abu Dhar, Ammar, the likes, Miqdad, possibly. You see them very slowly at night going to bury Sayyidah Fatima alayhi salam. Now Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam is having a conversation. He's burying Fatima to Zahra. Already around 75, 95 days ago, Imam Ali lost his brother, lost Rasulullah, the one that he would follow, even the footsteps where Rasulullah would put, he would put his feet on those footsteps. He's already in the grief of Rasulullah. Now he has lost his wife, Sayyidah Fatima, and says in this, it says, فَلَقَدْ اسْتُرْجَعَتَ الْوَدِيعَ. He says, O Prophet of Allah, peace be upon you, from me and from your daughter who has come to you and who has hastened to me to meet you. O Prophet of Allah, my patience about your chosen daughter has been exhausted, and my power and endurance has been weakened. There he says, وَأُخْتُلِسَتْ الزَّهْرَاء, they have snatched her and taken her away from me. فَلَقَدْ اسْتُرْجِعَتَ الْوَدِيعَ, and now the trust has been returned. He refers to Sayyidah Fatima as a trusted Rasulullah that Allah gave to him. وَأُخْذَتِ الرَّهِينَ, and now this trust has been returned and taken back. Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam is taking Sayyidah Fatima, very madloom, very oppressed. What are you going through right now, Amir al-Mu'mineen? He is placing with his hands slowly and slowly Sayyidah Fatima in her grave. فَلَمَّا نَغَضَ يَدَاهُ مِنْ تُرَابِ الْقَبْرِ. And now that Imam Ali alayhi salam is taking his hand from the dirt, he says, حَاجَ بِهِ الْحُزْنِ. Huzn attacks him, huzn comes upon him, grief comes upon him, because now, in a way, those who has lost someone is when you finally put dirt on that person, you're finally burying him. This is one of the roughest times. Now it becomes very evident that you have lost this person. Now you know that they have died. فَأَرْسَلَ دَمُوعَهُ إِلَى خَدَّيْهِ. But you see that Imam Ali alayhi salam, tears are falling down his cheeks, as Shaykh Mufid realizes and says. Imam Ali, we can't imagine how it was like for you to bury Lady Fatima. But we say this, your son, Imam Hussein's body, lasted 3 days and 3 nights, covered in blood, dismembered. His chest was crushed, his head was decapitated. Amir al-Mu'mineen, you were there for your wife Fatima, Imam Hassan, Imam Hussein there. But our Imam Hussein alayhi salam on the day of Karbala was ghareeb. He was estranged, he was all by himself. His funeral was this way. His funeral was when Umar ibn Sa'd ordered and says, who wants to take the horses to crush the body of Hussein ibn Ali? 10 people volunteered, and they came with horses and crushed the body of the shuhada and crushed the chest of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. This is the funeral of Imam Hussein. As-salam on that body, that his head has been severed from the body. As-salam on Imam Hussein alayhi salam, the cheek that has hit the dust of Karbala. Salam on the body that was left for 3 days and 3 nights in the plains of Karbala. Inna lillah, inna ilayhi rajiun. Ya Allah, we ask you, allow us to have deep ma'rifat of Sayyidah Fatima alayhi salam, accept our majalis, give the reward to our marhumeen, inshallah. Please approve of us and please with us, give us kamal and perfection in this world where we can. Allow these beautiful brothers and sisters in front of us to have the best of decisions. Make them the best in the world, inshallah, when it comes to their personal lives, their financial life, their family life, their social life. Allow them to make the best decisions and give them success. Inshallah, will become of the soldiers of Imam Zaman. Please recite salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Matem al-Zahra alayhi salam.
Ya Zahra, Ya Zahra, Ya Zahra.
روی لبهام نور و قدر و کوثر و طه، ذکر نورانی عاشقها، تسبیحات حضرت زهرا. الله اکبر این همه جلال، الله اکبر این همه شکوه، الله اکبر این همه جلال، الله اکبر این همه شکوه، الله اکبر در راه علی، فاطمه ایستاده مثل کو. صلی الله علیک یا فاطمه، صلی الله علیک، صلی الله علیک، صلی الله علیک، صلی الله علیک یا فاطمه، الله علیک یا فاطمه، الله علیک یا فاطمه، صلی الله علیک یا فاطمه. میدونم که راز شهادت این اشکا، رنگ خدا میگیرم من با تسبیحات حضرت زهرا. الحمدلله که نوکرتم، الحمدلله که مادرمیم، الحمدلله که نوکرتم، الحمدلله که مادرمیم، الحمدلله از بچگیام ما در سایه روی سرمیم. صلی الله علیک یا فاطمه، صلی الله علیک یا فاطمه، صلی الله علیک یا فاطمه، صلی الله. از غصه ها چشم عاشقا شده دریا، روزه بعد نماز ما تسبیحات حضرت زهرا. سبحان الله باغ بهشت و دود، سبحان الله از لحظه ورود، سبحان الله پیش چشم علی آیه های کوثر شده کبود. صلی الله علیک یا فاطمه، صلی الله علیک یا فاطمه، صلی الله علیک یا فاطمه، صلی الله علیک یا فاطمه. روی لبها نور و قدر و کوثر و طه، ذکر نورانی عاشق ها، تسبیحات حضرت زهرا. صلی الله علیک یا فاطمه، صلی الله علیک یا فاطمه، صلی الله علیک یا فاطمه، صلی الله علیک یا فاطمه. صلوات.
السلام عليك يا رسول الله، السلام عليك يا حبيب الله، السلام عليك يا خيرة خلق الله ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين يا علي بن أبي طالب. السلام عليك يا خديجة الكبرى يا أم المؤمنين. السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء سيدة نساء العالمين. السلام عليك يا حسن بن علي المجتبى. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله الحسين بن علي الشهيد بكربلاء. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. السلام على التسعة المعصومين من ذرية الحسين: علي بن الحسين زين العابدين، ومحمد بن علي الباقر، وجعفر بن محمد الصادق، وموسى بن جعفر الكاظم، وعلي بن موسى الرضا، ومحمد بن علي الجواد، وعلي بن محمد الهادي، والحسن بن علي العسكري، والحجة القائم المهدي، عجل الله تعالى فرجه وسهل الله أمره ومخرجه. السلام عليكم جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. صلوات.
For those interested, we're going to stay here and have a little discussion and Q&A if you want. Whoever is interested, I'll be here at your service. Assalamu alaikum. How are you? MashaAllah. Which reciter do you listen to a lot? Or you have your own style?
I listen to a lot of different reciters.
Who,
It's kind of like a mix.
if I want to copy you, who would I have to listen to?
Okay, so for like faster paces, I usually try to go for Method Marklin.
Who's that?
He's a South, but not one of the Wahhabis.
That doesn't matter. That's Quran.
Yeah,
What?
Method, Marklin. And for that's very good. You're looking at tomorrow? Last time we're gonna see. So, inshallah, we'll see you again. You come another time.
Only you're allowed to eat. Either a mimosa or chicken.